Thanks, Rohit, for being a part of this. Rohit has more than 12 years of experience in digital marketing. He has, in his last stint, he was heading the direct and digital marketing at Loyalty Rewards, which is India's biggest provider of loyalty and customer engagement programs, especially for the BFSI industry. Okay, so we're going to be discussing how choosing a CRM in 2024. I personally feel that this is a very exciting category, right? Because we have players like Salesforce who have been around for a very long time, and there are a lot of new CRM products which are coming. It's easily one of the first tools that a growing business would require, just like HRMS. And then there is a lot of, given the whole AI theme which is happening for the last, say, a year or so, a lot of potential with respect to what the new features, the new AI features that can be embedded in CRM products. So I really find this entire category fascinating. So you have to really understand your use case, and the software advisor app that we have. Basically, you'll get connected with a software advisor who will help you understand your main use cases, and these are the top ones when it comes to CRM, and that's what we'll be discussing. Okay, so the first one is contact management, and this is really one of the main use cases, right? I mean, you basically go ahead and you purchase a CRM software when you find that you have a lot of contacts to manage as a growing business. So when we were discussing earlier on this, you also mentioning that after a certain point of contact management really becomes like an expensive use case to manage in a CRM product, right? So can you just elaborate on that?
Yeah, Kaushik, the way the CRM industry is structured with so
Yeah.
many SaaS providers out there, 90% of them follow a pay per contact model, which
Hmm.
essentially means that when your number of contacts or number of leads increase in the CRM, you end up paying more.
Okay.
Right now, there are a couple of small time players that have come up and tried to disrupt the industry and say that unlimited contacts for 999 a month and stuff like that. But I've seen, I'm not saying that they all are gimmicky, but been in the industry for such a long time, I've seen even the larger players now who were small, let's say 5, 6 years back, they
Hmm.
also started with this kind of a model where they
Okay.
gave unlimited contacts to start with.
Hmm.
And once you invest into a CRM, it's also like a trap, for lack of a better word, right?
Okay.
Because the entire exercise from changing one CRM to your in house CRM or to another CRM is a
Hmm.
digital transformation exercise, right? So, the number one thing to be really cautious about when it comes to contact management is that obviously once your number of contacts increase, you
Hmm.
can't maintain an Excel sheet, you cannot do things manually. You need a
Right.
CRM because there are multiple teams who would want to look at contacts for different use cases. But you need to kind of understand that every CRM has a per contact pricing. You need to be wary of that point.
Right. And when it comes to contacts, so there is a lot of information about a particular contact that can be stored. So what level of granularity is there with respect to targeting? So for example, if I'm a B2B, like scenario, like IT company, can I target my contacts based on things like the time spent on my website? What are the new things here with respect to how you can target with respect to the attributes that you
Yeah.
store about your contacts?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kaushik. In terms of attributes, you can define pretty much any attribute that you want. And
Right.
all CRMs have this capability, whether it is time spent on the website, number of pages that are viewed on the website, number
Yeah.
of emails opened, number of emails responded to, etc., etc. What I've seen in my experience that for the end user, who's your
Hmm.
salesperson, all of this becomes very confusing because
Right.
salespeople are not data oriented by nature. So, bundling everything into an engagement score or a lead score, a
Hmm.
metric like that, which is a combination of all the metrics that we are discussing, presenting it in a way which is linked to the engagement score to the end user, who's your
Hmm.
sales guy, that really, really helps.
Right. Right. So that's the job of the marketing lead, right? Which is to understand what factors play a role with respect to, say, defining a warm prospect and then putting it down to a simple lead score and then discussing and that with your sales team.
Yeah, predominantly the job of the marketing team, Kaushik. But in my experience, I've learned that marketers typically tend to be poor salespeople. So it
Hmm.
has to be done in coordination with the owner of marketing and the owner of sales. Because sometimes a sales person might tell you that there is a trend in email opening of a prospect who's going to convert. The
Hmm.
marketing person may not know that. The marketing
Hmm.
person may feel that anybody who opens the email, the
Hmm.
engagement score should increase with each and every email open, because that
Hmm.
is a typical sign of interest. But the sales guy might tell you a different trend.
Right.
Having said that, data again is sacrosanct. So you have to look at historical data and historical trends
Yeah.
and take a non-partial view and satisfy both parties, marketing and sales.
Yeah, great point. So, and tell me, with respect to, I mean, everyone does a lot of cold email marketing today, and for that you would require data which is not, which you either purchase or you have an alliance with a third party, right? So, would you advise using CRM for this kind of cold email marketing, or would you suggest that okay, you use some other software for doing the outreach, and once those leads become warm, then you kind of import them into your like enterprise CRM.
Yeah, the latter approach is better, Kaushik, and I'll tell you
Right.
why. Because, there are concepts with email marketing that you would also be aware of, like domain authority, the health of your domain, IP warming, stuff like that, right? So your CRM is essentially
Hmm.
used for intelligent, automated, and transactional communication, right? For
Hmm.
example, if I am a salesperson and I have called an interested contact for the first time, an automatic follow-up can go introducing about my company, my USPs, my product suite, etc. Now the problem is those automated emails, or the thing is that those automated emails typically have a higher open rate because you
Yeah.
have spoken to a prospect and then send that mail automatically. On the other hand, when it comes to buying lists and doing a cold email blast on a list, your response rates are very poor as compared to your own data.
Yeah.
So when you mix the two, the IP health and the domain health
Yeah.
of your best domain, which
Hmm.
is the email domain that is linked to your CRM, gets affected. And that is
Yes.
why I always recommend to kind of have a separate tool for cold emailing and your CRM tool to be different.
Right, right. And also if you're doing anything paper contact, then if you get your cold email into your CRM, it's going to be expensive in any case, right? Yeah. Okay, great. Let's move on to the next use case. Now, workflow automation. So yeah, there is a lot of AI potential here. So what from my experience, I've seen that there is when it, I mean, if for B2B, for example, and the pipeline view is so important. I mean, there are products which just talk about the pipeline view, how easy, how convenient it is in their product. And I think there's a lot of AI potential here with respect to the right kind of leads getting added to the right kind of stages automatically. And we have just, I mean, I think we have just scratched the surface when it comes to the automation that is involved here. I mean, still predominantly with respect to pipeline, you have the salespeople adding the leads to and changing the stages, right? So what do you think? What do you see a lot of action happening in workflow automation in CRM products
So there is some action, but I'll tell you one thing. Majority of the sales guys are still comfortable with changing the contact stage on their own.
themselves?
Yes, because AI is still getting developed, as we all know, in all spheres of marketing and business.
Yeah.
What happens is there are CRMs which allow you to add an activity. So, for
Hmm.
example, I call a prospect today, and the
Hmm.
prospect says that call me tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Now I
Hmm.
add an activity saying that the activity or the task is that a call is between me and the prospect at 4 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah.
Automatically the contact stage changes. Okay.
Hmm.
Sometimes the sales guys don't prefer that. Okay. And one of the reasons they don't prefer that is because activity is very straightforward. Some of
Yeah.
the CRMs have become so advanced with AI that based
Hmm.
on the comment, they are changing the contact stage. Now,
Oh,
sales guys are not content writers. They don't write elaborative.
okay. You mean based on the comment which is written by the salesperson?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So basically, a lot
Hmm.
of times a sales guy would pick up the call and call the prospect, and the prospect says that, you know what, I'm busy. Can we talk later? Now,
Hmm.
that doesn't mean that your new lead stage has
Yeah.
converted to interested,
Yeah.
right? But the sales
Yeah.
guy would write requested a call back. Now,
Yeah.
when the tool sees requested a call back, the AI in the tool
Hmm.
feels that, you know what, a new lead requested for a call back. that
Hmm.
means that the lead state should change from new lead to interested,
Hmm.
right? But the sales
Yeah.
guy would say that no, I don't want to change because I know what the call was. So I know that the call happened only for 5 seconds, and the lead said that call me later without expressing any interest or non-interest for that matter. So
Yeah.
it's still a gray area, but I'm
Hmm.
sure with time AI will
Yeah.
become more sophisticated. There are CRM providers who are
Hmm.
working with integration capabilities wherein you could also decipher the voice of the prospect and basis that change the contact stage. Right now I feel that because these are all add-ons which come with an additional cost, it's a
Hmm.
good to have capability, but only time will tell, Kaushik, whether this becomes a must have capability.
Yeah, and ultimately, whichever software you choose, the sales team has to start using it.
Yeah.
So if there are things which they don't like, I mean, that's really like the first factor, right? You have to get your salespeople to start using the software. Otherwise, I mean, all this discussion of use cases, etc., has to be discussed with the sales team. They have to feel comfortable during the demo. In fact, that's what our trials are all about. People
Yeah.
have to feel comfortable,
Yeah.
right? So
Kaushik,
so yeah,
another point
yeah.
is people neglect a very, very important thing when choosing a CRM or even deciding to in-source a CRM or go with another provider.
Mhm.
Okay. People do not like change. People are resistant to change. And that's true of your sales guys as well.
Yeah.
Right. This has to be, it's a change management exercise. Someone has to drive it. So it's not just a marketing play or a data play or a sales play.
Mhm.
It's also a change management exercise for the entire organization, right? And I have been a part of many CRM transformations where we were working with one CRM, and then we decided to insource the CRM or go with another provider. It's not so much about better features that the other CRM has. The number one point to take into account is the change management exercise. Someone has to drive that. If there
Mhm.
is no one who's driving the change management, it's going to take a hit on business for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, in fact, I was just a couple of days back, I was going through some post which talked about how prevalent sales is in the industry. It's just amazing, given that the UI is still not great, and they have developed such a huge ecosystem of partners and people who know Salesforce. And currently, people have been using Salesforce for such a long time. I mean, they don't want to change. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So I mean, the main message here is that yes, a lot of action happening in workflow automation, AI, and all that. But you have to be careful of not going in for fancy things, because ultimately people, like especially salespeople, they will want to control this part themselves, right?
Some of it should be
Some
controlled,
of it, yes.
for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Reporting. So this is also, and the best example that I come up with, and this is because I've practically used Zoho myself. They've tried their best to make custom reports as easy as possible. But from your experience, do you see, like we were talking about, salespeople not really getting very hands-on with doing additional stuff on the CRM, right? So have you seen salespeople doing this, like building custom reports and doing things which, for example, for a month end kind of reports which the management wants? So have you seen that happening?
So with the sales team, definitely no. And I think it would be unfair to have this expectation from the sales team. In my experience, I've seen that either the MIS team or the analytics team takes the lead here and
Hmm.
tries to build custom reports. Most of the CRMs have a custom template that you can at least start building with, and then
Okay.
you could customize that template. But if you leave it to the sales guy, again, it's a huge behavioral change that you're talking about, right?
Hmm.
Inherently, a sales guy is not a data guy, and you
Hmm.
don't want to hire data guys as sales guys because it would be counterintuitive,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they would be excellent users of the CRM, but they would
Hmm.
not be excellent at closing deals. So this typically works when you have someone who is out of sales making the MIS, because think of it this way, right? Somebody
Hmm.
is auditing, or somebody needs to audit what the salesperson is doing. If you
Yeah.
have the sales team audit their own self, there is going
Hmm.
to be a bias, and they are never going to
They may not choose the right fields in the
they
report
may not
also.
choose the right fields in the report as well. So, you don't need a huge team. One MIS guy who could parallelly report to either the management team or the marketing head or the sales head gets this thing done.
Okay. So, but if it's a smaller, so if it's a less than 200 people kind of a company, there is no MIS guy. So then this responsibility would come to the marketing
Correct.
person, I guess. Yeah.
Correct. Yes. It
Yeah,
should be with marketing. It should be
right,
with marketing. I mean, if we have to choose between sales and marketing, marketing should have this responsibility.
right. And are there, like, there would be scenarios where you may like to import data into CRM. So is that really happening? I mean, do CRMs allow that?
Oh yeah, yeah, CRMs allow.
Okay.
So I had a client in the hospitality industry, right? And obviously now hospitality, majority of the bookings, hotel bookings have become online. Rarely someone would walk directly and try to book a hotel on the spot, right?
Hmm.
I mean, people still do that, but 95%
Hmm.
of the bookings are online. But you would have the dining section, and the dining section people don't pre-reserve. People still want to kind of walk and just make a random plan and go in and eat in a hotel. Now, that data was not getting fed into the CRM automatically, because the billing system of the stay aspect of the hotel and the
Yeah.
restaurant billing system are two different things.
Hmm.
So that is when you would capture the name of the customer and his mobile number. All of
Yeah.
the data was manual. That had to be exported via an automated integration between the restaurant POS system and the CRM that we were using. So to answer your question, yes, all CRMs allow for a manual upload. You could do it in an automated fashion. You could also do it as a CSV bulk upload, and you could also add it manually.
Yeah.
Sometimes what I've seen is a lot of salespeople have referrals. Now, a referral may not come to your website and fill a contact form submitting an inquiry. How
Hmm.
do you add a referral? So, you could
Yeah.
just import it, or you could just create a raw lead or a raw contact and go ahead with that.
Yeah. And I think CRMs are also moving towards the direction of they are trying to integrate or at least show your web analytics into the main CRM tool. I mean, they are going more and more trying to make their reporting more insightful, by also showing you other additional data related to your business.
Oh yeah, they are trying to
Yeah,
do that. They are trying.
yeah,
It's also a cross-sell model for them.
yeah.
We all are in the industry. We know whether you call it, an intelligence strategy from
Hmm.
their perspective, but as a buyer, I also kind of sense that they are trying to cross-sell. So most of the CRMs are coming up with their own reporting AI kind of a tool, which really integrates all the other business metrics which may not be there in the CRM, or all the website metrics which may not lie in your CRM, which may
Yeah.
be lying on GA4 or any other analytics tool that you use. They're trying to get it together.
Yeah. So the message here from, I think, here would be that if you this is not like a major use case for you to consider if you are a small company, because you would typically tend to go with the ready-made and the default reports unless you have someone who can customize the reports, like Rohit was saying. If you have a MIS department, or this is something which you would typically not customize a lot and all that, right, Rohit? I mean, that is
Oh yeah,
that something?
100%. And not
Yeah,
only for smaller organization or mid-sized organization, this is even
yeah.
true for the larger organization. Kaushik, one of the biggest learnings of my career or in life have been, don't
Mm.
invest all your eggs in the same basket. It's
Yeah.
true for CRM as well. Okay. If
Mm.
you allow your CRM provider to
Mm.
have everything, your reporting capabilities, your contact management capabilities, your real-time analytics capabilities, your financial reporting capabilities, tomorrow
Mm.
when you have to switch because of cost or because of any other reason, you are
Yeah.
not going to be able to do that. And
Right.
that would be the number one mistake that any business owner can make. If you put
Mm.
all your eggs in one CRM basket, it would become a nightmare. I mean, they can literally dictate terms, right? And you wouldn't, if I was running a CRM company, I wouldn't blame myself for dictating terms, because literally this SaaS models are built to be so reliant in that sense that exit barriers are really huge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, all this examples like MailChimp and HubSpot are now coming to my mind, because these are very, I mean, not HubSpot, but MailChimp, these are funded companies, and their investors really want them to cross sell. So they are just trying to, like, I know MailChimp, I mean, today is like end to end. They are doing CRM, they are helping you manage Facebook ads. It started with simple email marketing,
Yes.
right? So yeah, the product companies would want you to buy as many modules, but yeah, I mean, just look at the core functionality and then
Correct.
take a call. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So, okay, moving on to email integration. So we've actually looked at this use case sometime back when we spoke about contact management. It's not a good idea to do cold email, within the CRM. Yes, but definitely sequence based email marketing to your core set of prospects. That's really something which you should look at, which you can do from your CRM, right? That's
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And
yeah.
automated messaging, sequence-based messaging, journey-oriented messaging should happen from your CRM. Or at the
Mm,
very least, if you want to use a fancy marketing automation tool, you may use it. But
mm,
all your data should come back to your CRM. But
mm,
my advice to business owners is this only, that if you already have a CRM that has existing automated email marketing capabilities, please use that. Don't invest in another martech tool just for the sake of investing and
mm.
affect your bottom line.
Right, right. So this is the last use case that we have before we move on to overall guidance that we have. We have a couple of slides with respect to guidance and red flags to watch out for. With respect to personalization, I think this is what AI is really all about, right? Rather than we were talking about features of AI which are sometimes over the top, and talking about the lead stages, for example. But this is personalization is something which is that should be the promise of AI. So what are the new any use cases or any scenarios that come to your mind here, Rohit, with respect to good ways to personalize your outreach?
Yeah, a lot of ways, Kaushik. So,
Yeah.
whether you're running a B2C business or a B2B business, there is a concept of a sales cycle, right? Or you may also call it a buying cycle, right? Where the user may show initial interest, then
Hmm.
is in the consideration set where he probably would look to compare your product with a set of two, three other products. Then he
Yeah.
kind of becomes a little biased towards your product, and
Hmm.
finally he may end up making the purchase. Now, in
Hmm.
all of these four stages, right, which can be governed by the lead stage meter in any CRM, you
Hmm.
should have different contact or you should have different communication pieces go out to your potential customer. And this has to be omni-channel in a way. For
Hmm.
example, today, email is the cheapest channel.
Yeah.
So let's say I, as a prospect, I'm trying to be sold a new WhatsApp automation tool.
Yeah.
I talk to the salesperson
Hmm.
and my feedback on the call is positive and I tell him that I'll get back.
Hmm.
Immediately, an automated mail should go saying that why do you choose this automation software over the
Right.
others in the market, right? And that should be automated, not dependent on what the sales guy has to say. If I open the email, then after some time, a
Hmm.
reminder can go saying that, we noticed that you opened our last email. Would
Hmm.
you want to follow up with a schedule call, or would you want to have a follow up call?
Yeah.
But for instance, I do not open the email. The
Hmm.
next touch point can be SMS, which is
Hmm.
the second most expensive channel. And the third touch point can be WhatsApp, which is the most expensive channel today, if I do not react to the SMS. So all of
Right.
this is trackable, all of this can be personalized, all of this can be automated. There is
Right.
no human intervention required. It is one time effort, but it is just one time. And all you need to do is refresh your content pieces if you want to every quarter. That's all the effort that it takes.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is a I would say a big use case, and one really needs to understand how easy it is to tweak and change the messaging, for email, SMS, WhatsApp, depending on where the prospect is. So this is definitely something which you should study before you go in for the product, right? Okay, so those were the use cases. I mean, and whether it is, I mean, you started with contact management and workflow automation, reports, email. So the message here is to really zero down on the use cases which matter most to you, and also see every company is different with respect to the business flow, right? So see how personalization is happening in your company, and then see the products which do great justice to those use cases, and especially the point about making sure that your sales team is already invested, right, in the product. I mean, what couple of things before we end this with respect to, I mean, this is a question which I always discuss with some of my colleagues and people in the industry, right? This whole B2B versus B2C. So, Rohit, what do you think if you're a B2B business, out of all the use cases or other features which are coming out in the market, what do you think if you're a B2B business, what typically tend to be your use cases as opposed to say a B2C company? Like, any thoughts that you have here?
Yeah, I think when you are a B2B company, Kaushik, your total addressable market is far lesser than a B2C company. So that typically means that you have lesser contacts at any point of time. You have a lesser number of people in your demand generation team or account management team or sales team. right? And these SDRs or BDRs, would like to have a very different kind of a control as opposed to a B2C sales agent, right?
Hmm.
And so you need to take that into account. You could go for a CRM which charges on a per contact kind of a basis, because your number of contacts and your number of users. So
Yeah.
typically CRMs would charge on per contact and per user kind of a basis.
Yeah.
These users and these contacts are not going to increase as proportionately as for a B2C business. So you could probably go for an advanced CRM. What you
Hmm.
need to look for, especially when you're in the B2B business, is the
Hmm.
amount of personalization that can happen,
Okay.
right? Because when it comes to B2B, there can be a lot of edge cases that CRM can drive. For example, a
Yeah.
B2B purchase cycle is very different from a B2C purchase cycle. In the
Yeah.
B2B scenario, one account will have multiple contacts. So you will have a primary decision maker, you will have a secondary decision maker, you will have an influencer, you will have probably many influencers. Different kinds of content should go to them. So if
Yeah.
I am a SDR, sales development representative, trying to sell a CRM software to Kaushik,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And assuming Kaushik is the CMO of an organization, the
Yeah.
kind of content that goes to a CMO has to
Hmm.
be very different from a CFO.
Right.
Keep in mind that this company is an account, and
Hmm.
Kaushik is one of the contacts.
Yeah.
Kaushik's CFO is another contact.
Yeah.
Kaushik's head of digital marketing is another contact. Kaushik's
Hmm.
head of analytics is another different contact.
Yeah.
All of them have separate needs from the CRM, right?
Yeah.
So you don't talk to a CFO and tell him that, wow, your this CRM has great automation capabilities which others don't. He's not
Yeah.
bothered. You
Yeah.
talk to him on price. You talk to
Yeah.
him on unit economics,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The CMO, you talk to him on all the fancy marketing stuff that is there. He is the decision maker. You
Hmm.
talk a little bit on at the top level. For
Hmm.
the end user who's probably managing the CRM, you talk about each and every use case.
Hmm.
So from a B2B perspective, the design of the CRM has to be completely different,
Right.
because you need to take into account that one potential account has multiple contacts. In the B2B scenario, I've seen that, when you're targeting even a small medium business, you could
Hmm.
have up to 10 contacts per account. And out of
Right.
10 contacts, you will have two or three primary decision makers and others being influencers who
Right.
do influence the purchase.
Right. So definitely that whole organization account view is important. I mean, that has to be there in the B2B CRM, because there are CRMs which kind of say that, you can do B2B and B2C. There are CRMs which say, okay, they are only doing B2B. But definitely, like you're saying, Rohit, that view has to be very clear. This whole account-based marketing, enabling that kind of process, that view has to be very clear in the tool, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, from the points mentioned here, yes, pipeline management is something which is very important for B2B. And for B2C, it is I would put my vote on things like reporting and analytics. And because you have so much of data, and you can the ability to get very rich analytics from the customer and the prospects and the contacts that you have, in what would you say with respect to B2C?
Yeah, B2C a very different ball game, okay, and a
Yeah.
very different challenge. So the challenge is, at any point of time in a B2C scenario, you have, let's say, 10,000 prospects in the current month, but you
Hmm.
have a backlog of 1 lakh prospects from the previous month. How do you, a sales agent in a particular month cannot call, depending on your business and the kind of detailed conversations that they may end up having, cannot
Hmm.
call more than 200, 250, 300 people, right?
Hmm.
When each of the sales agent has a prospect pool of more than 1,000 people, and he or
Hmm.
she can only call 200 people in a month, it's
Yeah.
very, very important to get your engagement scoring or lead scoring right,
Hmm.
because you need to be able to feed to the sales guy that out
Hmm.
of the 1,000 people, call 200 in this month. That will
Hmm.
improve the conversion rate.
Right.
So really the use case of a B2C business is more on, like you rightly said, getting the signals right to
Hmm.
maximize the engagement score of a real prospect.